What's up, everybody? My favorite day of the week. Hey, if this is your favorite day of the week, go ahead and drop a comment. Drop a comment, let me know. Say hi. We got Mark Zemansky in the house. Case, let me go ahead and turn off this guy down here. Semantics is in the house. Case, as I said, Jake, Merrill, Patrick, Fernando, Donatas. So hard. These names are so hard. There's people from everywhere. The names are very difficult. Jason in the house. Yasser, Digital Algorithms is with us as awesome. This stream is going to be epic. Don't forget to bring your water bottle with mint so you can stay hydrated and energized. I've got my iced coffee. This is from Page Builders Summit. Just got a lot of these random coffee cups from all these places. I bet Etch is the new CMA, Content Management Architecture, says Derek. You would be incorrect there, Derek. That is not what Etch is. Doveber says, hey, Freemo. Stana's Law in the house. Calisthenics Ireland, good to see you. Okay, we got to get on with it. I'm just rambling names off so that we can let the algorithm do its thing and bring the people in, so people don't miss out on this. Here's the agenda for today. I have been building the new Frames website over the past 5 or 6 days. Inner Circlers may remember like 9 months ago, this site's been designed for 9 months. It's been sitting in a Figma file. And I actually, in the Inner Circle, on one of the co-working with Kevin's, I spun up the server for it, installed Brig, with the blueprint, put everything in, started just kind of like structuring the homepage out. But this was on, I believe at the time, that was for sure on like the old automatic CSS version. And I just completely ran out of time and I never touched it again after that. It just sat there for months and months and months and months. So I kind of scrapped all of that. 5 or 6 days ago, I said, hey, Etch is right around the corner. We're launching Frames for Figma, which needs a sales page, and then you look at the existing Frames website, and it's the original Frames. I was like, I gotta buckle down. And so for the last 5-6 days, I've been working on this new Frames website, and I feel like the progress has been really good. This is the first real project that I've been able to like fully deploy the automatic CSS 3.0 dashboard with, like getting it to the point where it's at now and then actually just using it on a real world project. And I just got to say, as far as that goes, obviously I build frames with it all the time. I'm constantly, every day I'm using it, but this is like the first full-fledged real world project environment. Let's get after it. And it's just been like, there is no comparison to the 2.x series. There's just absolutely no comparison. It's been phenomenal, and you'll see here we're going to talk about a few really key things. There's some unique stuff that we've kind of brought into ACSS from a framework standpoint, like contextual background and text colors, abstracting extra layers of abstraction, and how those are going to play out in real builds. They've played out phenomenally well in this rebuild. I do also want to say that I use these rebuild opportunities to experiment. Like they are my, because they're my sites. Like they're not a client. Like I'm not that comfortable just experimenting with like client sites, with new concepts. Like for example, the concept we're going to talk today with this experimentation of a new way to manage content, a potentially better way to manage content architecture. For those of you following my current series on the makings of a dynamic website, the things I'm teaching in that series are the tried and true traditional approach. But for months now, I've had this other approach in my mind, and it's very different. And in my mind, working through it, I'm like, it could have a lot of advantages. Like it could make things a lot better, a lot easier. But I never had a real project to try it on, and I wasn't going to try it on a client project. So this was the opportunity to actually, hey, let's see. Because what you have to remember, we've gone over this before. It's called Crockford's Law. Tony Crockford used to be on our team. He's now retired, but Crockford's Law, and I think everybody knows this if they've spent any time in this industry, is that you can have ideas for something. You can have concepts for something. You can put a new tool into practice. Thanks for the thumbs down, whoever that was. You can put a new tool. It flies across my screen. The thumbs ups don't really fly, but the thumbs downs do. Anyway, thank you. So, and this applies to software as well. So let's take like a CRM, for example. And you're like, okay, I think this is going to work really well for our business. And it does, like 90% of the way to where you need to go. But then the last 10%, which you couldn't foresee at the beginning, the last 10% you figure out, oh my God, it's got this missing feature is so critical, it turns out, this is a deal breaker. And you don't realize that there's deal breakers until you're like 90% of the way into the thing, right? And then it's like, fuck, gotta undo all this. Oh no, we can't do it. We gotta completely change the whole thing. Okay, so when I was brainstorming this architectural approach, I was like, it's very possible that I'm gonna get very far in and realize there's some sort of deal breaker that I couldn't foresee in the beginning. And so that's why it has to be done on a real project. You can't just conceptualize this stuff and then put it out there as like, okay, use this method. It's like, no, we have to build real things with it and vet it and confirm that this is good and that there's no deal breaker. And then we can teach it. So that series that I'm doing on the makings of a dynamic website, I'm gonna finish it off, okay? Remember, that's the tried and true, more traditional approach. It's gonna take a turn. It's gonna take a twist, okay? And we're gonna do something more like what we're seeing today, because so far, I haven't run into any deal breakers. And so far, it's way better. It's way better. And so we're gonna take a look at it. Let's go ahead and jump into the chat here. Okay, the man with the owl is here. I like this. This is a very good little branding thing this guy's got going on here. Can I make this thing bigger? How do we make a color, width, border, text margin? I don't know how to make that bigger. I feel like those messages at the bottom are a little small these days. Okay, questions can be put in. I see some people asking questions. Make sure it is the hashtag version. So hashtag Q, hashtag question. Justin says, it makes me feel really good that Kevin takes the opportunity to rebuild things just to stuff around and experiment. Yeah, you have to. You absolutely have to. There's no way to move things forward if you're just always doing things the way that they've always been done, right? We've got to look for better ways. And I will say, when it comes to this architectural approach that I'm going to show you today, but all of these methods, in my estimation, are workarounds for archaic WordPress CMS architecture. And I put a long post about this on Twitter a while back. This is why I rail against their abandonment of the CMS, is because there's so many things they could do to improve. There's so many things that they could do to improve the way that we manage content in the content management system of WordPress. And they haven't done it. They haven't touched it. They haven't even thought about it because they've been, distracted. And so we're still in an era where we have to do crazy workarounds. What I'm going to show you today with this architecture is not sensical. It's not like that just makes total perfect sense. It feels backwards. It feels weird. And that's why I hadn't done it before. I actually put it off for a while because it's like, it doesn't feel good in my mind to do it like that. But it turns out it actually, in practice, does seem to work a lot better. So that's the interesting part about it. All right, we've got good viewership here. We're up to 237. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. This is the current Frames website, we're gonna call this the old Frames website. If you don't know anything about this website, if you don't know anything about my process for things, so when I was first launching Frames, I do the bare minimum. Because you don't know if is the product going to be good? Is it going to not be? Is it going to take off? People are going to like it? Is it going to resonate? Everything is a theory. Everything is a theory. And so we have to prove the theory. Well, I'm not going to go full-blown design, development, all on a theory. We're going to go bare bones, minimum viable product, minimum viable marketing initiative, okay? and we're going to see what happens. Okay, and it went off like gangbusters. It's great. It's fantastic. Everybody loves it. But then, we left the website the way it was. It was like it was the bare bones, just kind of thing. And it's not super exciting, right? It just kind of did its job. It served as like here's a way for people to buy this thing. And so now we're at a point where it's like, no, we want to polish it up now. And I wanted it to look more in line with automatic CSS. So the automatic CSS website, the color scheme, the design, all of that, let's kind of carry that over to frames, okay? So this is the old one. Now, library functionality, I want to talk about a couple things. Library's fine. We overdid it with the documentation. We overdid it with and you see that, the latest frames don't really have much of any documentation. It was good in some cases. People, for the most part, didn't use it. They still asked all the same questions that were answered already in the documentation. It didn't really help us, really, from that standpoint. And it has one key missing feature. Like, for example, you can see a screenshot of the frame, but you can't see a live preview of the frame. Now, one of the reasons for this is because we're modular, okay? So not every frame is a section, which means that, like, if it was a section, it would have padding around it and you could live preview it just fine. But imagine this card right here. It would literally, the card would be stuck to the edge of the screen because there's nothing around it to pad it or anything. And if you put something around it to pad it, that thing becomes part of the frame that people then have to import. Not a good situation. That's not what we wanted, right? So we had to find a way to manufacture padding for the purposes of live preview that would not be in the frame when people imported the frame. And I actually found out a way to do that. And so now the new site will have live preview at each breakpoint, the responsiveness of the frame. And that's going to be the big improvement. So there's a big improvement that we're going to with the new website in terms of that kind of functionality. And then, of course, we have components. Okay, there's the account stuff, all that, yada, yada, yada. So, basic site, whatever. Now, I will pull up the new site. Let's go ahead and get to the new one. Now, keep in mind, this is, like I said, I'm 5 or 6 days into development. This thing is not live. You could go to the URL, but it's not going to be launched tomorrow or anything like that. This is an opportunity to look at the progress that's been made, to go in the back end and look at the new architecture that's being experimented with, to talk about some of the unique features of this website, especially when it comes to design and dev and scaling some of the design decisions that were made. So you're looking at a website that is absolutely in progress, still in progress, okay? Very much. Still, there's a lot to do. But it's still at a point where I think it's a good representation of 5 or 6 days of progress. And I think it is getting close, right? It is getting close. So we'll go through it. You're free to ask questions about anything that we're going over. You can tell me what areas you want to dive into more, or if something catches your eye, right? We can go there. I think what we're going to start with is I had a coughing fit right before this live stream, and I was like, that's a great way to start. Okay. I think where we will start is with the automatic CSS setup of the website, because it's actually quite simple. This is essentially a one color website. There is one color deployed here, and that is it. And so let's just pull up the dashboard real quick. Let's go through kind of just all the key panels, right? Let me get into, I want to make sure our chat is up here. DB says, woohoo, no outfit font. What do people have against outfit? I don't know what people have against outfit. I like outfit. But no, this is not outfit. Okay. All right, so we're gonna go into layout, we're gonna go website dimensions. So I'm actually a little narrower on this website. Now, Tommy did the design for this, and he wanted it to be narrower. So we're, normally I'm 1366-ish with most of the sites that I do. We're back down to 1280 for this site. Of course, I can make this change at any time, if you know anything about automatic CSS. Breakpoints, we're using all the standard breakpoints here. I'm doing nothing really with header heights or anything like that. At least not yet. Nothing really, the layout tab is essentially very close to default behavior here. Color palette's a very interesting area here because we're doing a lot with one color. Like we're doing a lot with one color. It's the primary color. Now, I've talked before about even if you are going to use the same, like a one color website, you should duplicate between the primary and the base, because if you're going to use the base in places, that is somewhat assigning context to those things, so that if you ever add a color to the design, you don't have to go back and find all the references and replace references. You can just change your base color, and now the base areas of the website adopt the second color that you're going to be putting into your design. I don't have to do that now. I don't, and in this exact project, because of the abstraction, the new abstraction areas of background colors and text colors, which we'll look at in just a second, I can get away with literally just using one color because I still have contextual assignments for those colors that can easily be replaced. And that is one very, very powerful aspect of this abstraction concept, but we'll dive into that more. But as you can see, literally everything other than primary, and of course neutral, because I always say keep your neutrals on. You know, you need them for various things, whites, blacks, things like that, okay? I am using the main transparencies. We are using light transparencies, dark transparencies, and ultra dark transparencies of primary. Everything else is off. Semantic colors, everything is off. Everything is off. Okay, let's go into typography. Very, very, default here. Type scale is a little bit bigger than the normal default that I use. Here's where we set the font family right here. Heading color, using the new great line height formula, fantastic. Some minor adjustments. I am balancing all of my headings. Where text wrap, I'm just using pretty on normal text. Everything very, very, just very close to defaults here. The only thing I'm doing is overriding my H1 size. So I'm taking that out of scale because I want it to be much bigger than the scale. And then everything else is done according to the scale. Spacing, all defaults. Section spacing, the gutter I changed. I always change the gutter a little bit, but that's neither here nor there. I think the 60 is the default for desktop, but I make the mobile a little bit skinnier on mobile. Mostly all defaults here. Mostly all defaults. Buttons, I only have primary loaded. I am using dark, light, outline versions. We're going to talk about that in just a second. Some cool stuff going on with that. Here's the backgrounds and text area. This is the contextual area. A lot of people are a little bit confused by it. It's essentially an area where I can assign colors to specific context, like what is a dark background? What is an ultra dark background? What is a light background? What is an ultra light background? And here's where I'm assigning those colors. And this is why if I did need to add a second color, I could add it like base or something like that, and then just swap these out and I'm good to go. My whole website is great. My whole website's fantastic. I don't have to go replace any references and elements or classes or anything like that. It would be extremely easy to add another color to this website. Same thing with text. This is where you assign text. And then of course we have auto color relationships, which I haven't even really needed on this website. Borders and dividers section. This is a brand new area of automatic CSS where we created this concept of a global border style and a global divider style. I have absolutely abused this functionality throughout this website. And it makes it so easy. Like when I want a border on something, I go border var border, border var border, border var border, like just wherever I need it, and boom, boom, boom. The same border shows up perfectly. Same thing with dividers. This was a newer concept and it's really played out like fantastically. That's it. Accessibility. I think all this shit is defaults. All this stuff is defaults. I haven't touched a single thing. Okay. And then in forms, we'll do form styling when we actually see a form. Options. Let's check this out. Utility classes. So I am using pro mode with a little bit of extra stuff turned off, okay? So a lot on the utility side turned off, a lot. So we're keeping the project nice and light in terms of that. And everything else is pretty much defaults in here as far as I remember. Global SaaS, we'll start to look at some of the cool stuff that's done there. Let's start with the, well, first of all, let's go down and, okay, website looking tasty AF. Good work, Tommy. Okay, good. All right, well, yeah, it seems like, you know, people's reactions. I mean, so far so good, right? It's looking fairly good. If you see in the background, it's very faint. It's going to depend on the resolution of the stream, the resolution of your monitor, but you're going to see a grid background, okay? Now, Tommy in Figma, let me pull up the Figma file for you guys. And somebody did ask the question, was this done in frames for Figma? One, was this done in Figma? Was it done with frames for Figma? The answer to both is yes. So these are the Figma files, right? Okay, and I can go left and right. You see, you know, all of our pages, which we're going to get to. Don't worry, we're going to get to all of it. But yes, it was done in frames for Figma in Figma. And Tommy used like some sort of SVG grid. You can see it back here. I don't know. I tried to pull it out. It was some giant, like it was the full page height. And then I was like, I really just need that section that repeats. I don't need a gigantic SVG. I just need the little part that repeats, and then I'll repeat it myself. But I couldn't get that. I didn't even care. I was like, it's just fucking squares. So that I was like, I think I can make that with a background, like a linear gradient. And so that's essentially what I did. So we're gonna go to the dashboard here. My brain I just had a stroke or something. We're gonna go to the dashboard, and we're gonna take a look right here at how this, because I actually initially started out assigning that background pattern to a class. And then I was like, I'll put it here, here, here. And then I took another look at the design and I was like, fuck, it's everywhere. I should just make it show up everywhere by default. So I ended up assigning it to the body tag. And so I set background color, and you can see I'm abusing these like contextual color variables. Notice I'm not calling a color. I'm just saying BG ultra dark or BG dark. Those are those color assignments. I'm not asking for primary or base or anything. I'm just asking for the contextual abstracted version. And that's what makes this so scalable and maintainable. And by the way, the decisions when you're doing the work, there's no more decisions left. It's like, I want dark, I want ultra dark. I want light, I want ultra light. You're not even thinking about colors anymore. It's all set for you. It's all done. So then I used a background image. And what I did is I created a grid, but I created two grids with the background image property with the linear gradients. And so we have a large grid, which is a linear gradient. One goes up and down, one goes left to right. They're 2 pixels thick, and they're a color, right? Now, when I need the transparencies, that's when I actually call the color and grab the transparencies from it. And then I did a smaller grid the exact same way. And when one grid is half the size of the other grid, they just intersect perfectly. And so that's where you kind of get that grid in a grid. There's like a small grid and a big grid kind of effect as a background pattern back there. But then even primary light trans 10 was too light. It didn't look like, it needs to be very faint. And so I thought about maybe I'll create like extra variables here, like a 5 or whatever. But then I was like, no, it actually, there's also, if you look at the Figma file, some sort of darkened overlay on it. And so I actually used a new technique called border image, where you can fill from the border in, and it actually gives you like it's a new technique for creating an overlay. Without needing divs or anything, or pseudo elements or anything like that. You can just literally use the border image property and a linear gradient to create an overlay. And so I darkened everything, and you don't have to worry about z-index issues or anything like that. It's really fantastic. So this creates an overlay over the entire grid of the entire website. And then, but this is not the overlay you see here. The vignetting that's in the hero is actually done with a different overlay technique, which when we get to the hero, we'll take a look at that. Okay, then we're gonna skip accordions. That's not really anything important. While we're here, we'll look at this links thing. Something I'm gonna actually bake into automatic CSS, I think. it's a really good idea to visually indicate when a link takes somebody to an external website or opens a tab. So if we look down here in the bottom, in the footer, you're gonna see links like this: education, community. They have these little up arrow indicators on them. If we look in the nav right here, community and videos. So let me go ahead and show you this for a second. This is a good way to visualize it. We'll just pop into the header, and I'm gonna go to this drop down right here, and you're gonna see, like, see this open in new tab? I'm gonna take it off. Look what happens to the arrow. And then I put it back, and look what happens to the arrow. So I wanted a way to, when I create a link to an external website, automatically that arrow identifier gets added, just automatically, right? And also, because it needs to be accessible, we can stick effectively what is like an alt, like an ARIA label onto that pseudo element, which is really cool. And that's all done with like one line of CSS or 2 lines of CSS. So let's go look at, that's not it. Let's go back to the front end and let's look. So we're gonna open this up and we're gonna go to SAS and we're gonna come down to links, okay? And so what I'm targeting is all links that are not the stupid bricks post sharing thing, because that was causing problems. So we can put other stuff in our not statement if we need to. But this line right here is the key line, because you can target things with CSS. You can target attributes, and the target of a URL is an attribute. And so if the target equals blank, which opens a new window for a link, you could target that with CSS. And what we're doing is we're adding an after pseudo element to it with the property of content. This little HTML entity code is the code for that little up arrow thing. And there's a gazillion of these. You can put in any icons that you want to put in. And then if you put a / and then some words in quotes, that will actually become the ARIA label for that content element, for that pseudo element, which is awesome. And then 0.75 em font size, if you use em font size here, it's essentially going to make the arrow size relative to the font, the text that it's attached to. So the arrow will always be the exact right size. Okay, and so if we look at, maybe the audio is working, let's do an audio check. Let me know if you guys can hear this in your headphones correctly.
Voiceover on arc, header, template, window, header, template, web content, has keyboard focus. You are currently on web content. To enter system settings, appearance, voiceover off. Okay,
could you hear that in this microphone, or could you hear that like it was system audio? That's what I need to know right now. Let me go to sound, just make sure we're hooked up correctly. Sound, okay. Input. Here we go. Rodecaster Pro 2. Let's try that again.
Voiceover on arc, header,
there we
template,
go.
window,
there we go.
Header, template, web content, has voiceover off.
Okay, nice. Now you should be able to, now you should hear it, right? Okay, we're gonna put this, if you like this little arrow trick, which I love it, right? 1, it gives you a visual indicator that the link is an external link. And 2, for accessibility purposes, it notifies people with screen readers that they are about to engage with an external URL. So it's not just cute, like it does have real benefits. And what I'm gonna do is build that into essentially just a toggle under the links section. So if you go to buttons and links right here, you're just gonna be able to hit a toggle that says, like, you know, mark my external URLs as external, something like that. And I'm sure there'll be, you know, a little bit more to it, but that'll be a one-stop kind of thing in ACSS. But check this out. Check out how it announces. Ready?
Visited, link, docs, link, account, visited, link, docs, visited, link, education link to external website, visited, link, community link to external website, link, privacy policy, list, voiceover off.
Okay, see how it announces differently? So it's very easy for people with screen readers to determine whether the link that they're about to click is a link on this website or a link that is going to take them somewhere else. So yeah, it does a lot beyond just being cute, which is nice. Okay, let's pull up Global SaaS. Let's come down. What else did we do? Okay, here we go in the header. So you see this button right here in the header. This was actually a really interesting case where I was like, I can't really do what I want to do with just like a utility class or something like that. And this will really show you the depth, okay? When we talk about Crockford's Law, you get 90% of the way in, and then there's the deal breaker where you're like, I couldn't see that at the beginning, and now it actually turns out that's a really big pain in the ass, right? Well, automatic CSS has various ways to handle things, and it turns out it's actually very important to have these various ways, because you run into these situations and I wish there was a tool for that. And with automatic CSS, there's almost always a tool for that, okay? So let's go down and look at these buttons, for example. Look at the block padding of these buttons. Look at the inline padding of these buttons. Oh, by the way, somebody was like, how do you make all of your buttons pill-shaped in automatic CSS? Very simple. Buttons, let's go to global. So global affects all of your buttons, and then you just find the border radius and pop a 50 VW on there. All your buttons are pills now. You're good to go. It's literally as simple as that. And if you want to change them at any time, you can change them at any time. Okay, so these are the pill buttons, but they have more padding here. And if I go up and find another one, they have more padding here. These are all the same. I wanted the one in the header to be skinnier. Is that what you would call it? Skinnier, not as tall, not as much block padding. And I wanted to change its minimum width. And I also wanted to just only apply those styles. Here's the kicker. This is not a free floating button. If you watch my YouTube on how to kind of properly manage a navigation up here, people will put in a nav element here, and then they'll just put free floating links and buttons over here. This is not done this way. So let's go into the header. This is all one navigation. And the benefit here is that my pricing link, which by the way, Bricks does not render this properly in the builder, my account link and my pricing link are part of the nav. And on mobile, they will automatically be part of the mobile nav, right? The problem with making these things separate elements is that when you build your mobile menu, you now have to put in duplicates, and then you have to manage like, well, okay, when it's this breakpoint, those buttons are going to show, but not these links in the nav. And it's nonsense. It's nonsense. Make it all one navigation, because that's semantically what it is. And then we're going to use CSS to isolate these two items away from the other items. And then we're going to use a minimum width media query, which is people will call it a mobile first media query, right? But a breakpoint and up, because this is what it needs to look like on desktop, but not on mobile. So we're only going to apply the styles to desktop style, like laptop, desktop breakpoints, right? You can't do that. You can't do any of that with a utility class, because you put a utility class on, the utility class is on. It's going to be a button at all times. I don't want it to be a button at all times. I only want it to be a button at certain breakpoints, okay? Now, I will say that the Bricks menu situation is the worst aspect of Bricks, okay? Especially if you wanted to do anything beyond the basics. I mean, you're gonna be writing a lot of CSS. This is my media query right here. Min width 991 is where I'm isolating the last two elements, and I'm basically using an auto margin to just make them fly to the other side of the header. So that's the code that's isolating them. But then I needed a mix-in. I needed a mix-in from automatic CSS to get that to have global button styles, because I did not want to style all of that manually and put in all the button variables manually and all of that. That sounded like an absolute disaster. And we just don't have to when you're using automatic CSS. So let's go in here and let's go to global Sass and let's take a look at how I manage this. So I gave it a class of nav button, right? Let's skip to the includes, and then we'll come back to these variables right here. So I said in nav button, because you can nest in Sass, you can nest breakpoints, you can nest whatever you want to nest in Sass, and it all works out in the end. It's good to go. So I said include breakpoint up L. So that is a Sass mix-in for writing a minimum width media query for your L breakpoint. You don't have to know what the L breakpoint is. In fact, if the L breakpoint changes in the future, it doesn't matter. This is an unbreakable scenario right here. So just say include breakpoint up L is including the code for min width media query at the L breakpoint. And then inside of that, I'm gonna say include button primary, which is essentially saying take all the button primary styles and assign them to nav button inside of this media query. So with 2 lines, I've written a media query, I've written all the instructions for my primary button style. Very, very simple. But then we have the problem of, but I don't want all of the primary button style. Remember, I want it to be thinner. I want less block padding, okay? Well, all button styling in automatic CSS is done with locally scoped variables. So that means you can just override the 2 locally scoped variables that you want to alter. And this little block right here gives me still a globally styled button, a globally managed button in automatic CSS, but only at the breakpoint that I want it to be at, and with a little bit different padding. And so it's like, it doesn't get any more powerful than that. And the ability to do this, by the way, using these mix-ins, I can assign these mix-ins to facets. I can assign them to any third-party buttons that I want to look like all my other buttons. Mix in, mix in, mix in, mix in, all good, okay? All right, what are we doing? What are we doing? Oh, there's Ruben. Ruben in the chat. I saw $5 come across the screen. I gotta be Ruben. Okay. Test section has testimonial grid background. Oh, that'll be a good one to look at in just a second. Okay. That is all of the dashboard related stuff for automatic CSS. Now we're going to dive into bricks, and we will dive into, do you want to do the homepage first, or do you want to do the architecture? I'll let you guys vote. You guys steer the ship today. Do you want to do the homepage, or do you want to do the architecture? Put your vote in the comments. And let's get to it. Design with Cracker, welcome. Good to see you. Good to see you. Okay, I'm gonna go through the chat real quick. Lizzie Hutchinson says, this is so fantastic. Thank you, Lizzie. Okay, flexing on frameworks for a living, yes. This is why I'm doing Automatic CSS 101, by the way, because the deeper you get into it, I know some of it is intimidating, for sure. Especially depending on your skill and experience level. There's gonna be some intimidation factor. The good news is the intimidating stuff, you actually don't ever have to touch or use. You're not required to use any of it, right? You can use just the basics and get tremendous value. But the more you want to dive in, like the rabbit hole gets deep, okay? And you run into certain situations and then you realize, oh my God, that tool, Automatic CSS is just a big toolbox, right? It's got a bunch of these tools in it, and your job as the tool man or the tool woman is to know what your tools do and how they work and which ones are most appropriate for different scenarios. And some people, their toolbox is like a hammer and a screwdriver, and that's about it. They can't do much beyond that, and that's okay. But as you get better and better and better, you realize, oh, I got some other tools in here, and they actually come in quite handy in different scenarios. And you're really glad that they're there when you need them. Okay, let's go down and say, people are saying architecture. I think architecture won. I don't even have to count them. I think architecture won. Okay, let's take a look at architecture. In order to look at architecture, let's take a quick look at some things here. So we've got layouts. We've got components. We've got resources, docs, okay? These are external links, so they don't count, but we have a docs scenario going on here. If we come down here, we have a products area, okay, with frames and frames for Figma. Now, in the traditional model, you would automatically say layouts, custom post type, right? That's a custom post type. Components, that's gotta be a custom post type. Docs, that's gotta be a custom post type. You got legal links down here, privacy policy, cookie policy. That's a CPT. We know that. We've watched the videos, Kevin. We know what the CPTs are. Okay, and you're right. All of those things are CPTs, except what you're looking at right here. Frames and frames for Figma are not a CPT. They are not a CPT. But wait, if we click on one like frames, I didn't link them up yet. They do have pages. The pages are blank, okay? Just to let you know. But I assigned the templates to make them, to prove the concept. Those are not CPTs. Everything else is a CPT. Now, those two things are also not posts, and they're also not pages. And I'm calling this like I don't even know what I called it in the description of the video. I gave it some sort of name, which I'm not even 100% sold on. Centralized Taxonomy Architecture is what I called it. How do I get back to live chat on here? Okay, I like to have the live chat up on my phone right there. A centralized taxonomy architecture. which essentially, if we're going to explain it as simply as possible, you take the most important thing that the website is centered around, right? For most websites, what is that? That would be services or that would be products, okay? So you take the most central thing to the website and you taxonomize that. And then everything else exists around it as a custom post type. And I'll show you why this is so important, especially when we talk about relationships. Because if you remember in the YouTube series that I did on dynamic websites, if you want to create a relationship between your reviews, okay, we have reviews as well. So here's reviews. You want to create a relationship between reviews and the product or the service that is being reviewed. What do you have to do? Well, there's two ways to go about it. One is you can create relationship fields, bi-directional relationship fields. Create a relationship field over here, create a relationship field over here, link them together, voila, you have a bi-directional relationship. Now, there are some downsides to this. If you do this, which I just taught it in the series, but I will tell you there's downsides to it, okay? There's two main downsides, really, that people will talk about. One is it's essentially a meta query. So the performance of the loops is going to be worse than if it was a tax query, okay? That would be number one. Number two is it's not really super efficient or fun to create and manage all those relationship fields. It's really annoying. Actually, there would be more downsides. So that's another downside. A third downside is that when you create the loops in bricks anyway, you lose all the loop controls. They go away. When you do a relationship query, you're just querying relationship. It's like a binary thing. It's like, do you want relationships or do you not want relationships? You can't go like, I want 8 relationships. I want them in this order. I want that. All those controls go away. So you lose functionality in your loops. There's actually a lot of downsides, right? But there was no better way. There was no alternative that was just awesome, other than people would say, well, create a taxonomy for the products, and then you can essentially just assign reviews to a product taxonomy. But then I was like, but hold on, I've already got a CPT for my services and or my products in this case, and I'm gonna manage a taxonomy next to a post type of the same data. And how's that gonna work? Like every time I create a new product or a new service, I gotta remember to add that thing to the taxonomy because they're two separate data structures. I don't like that. That concept's not good. It leaves a lot of room for loose ends, essentially. You remove a product, but you forget to remove it from the taxonomy, and now you got your whole data's out of sync. Not good, not good. So then I started thinking, well, can we just get away with the taxonomy by itself? We don't even need a CPT for the services and products, right? That was the theory. But then I was like, I don't know what we're gonna run into. What issues are we gonna run into with that? So let's take a look at this. I have a change log, which is a CPT. Components, CPT. Docs, CPT. Facts, CPT. Layouts, CPT. Reviews, CPT. No products. You don't see products here. Where are the products living? Guys, the products are living here. Look, products, docs, changelog, products, right? Layouts, I don't think needed it because there's only one product that uses the layouts. Reviews, products. Look, products this way, or services, if you're doing a service-based website, get to automatically live within any custom post type that they should be related with by nature, okay? Which is really, really, really fantastic. So if I'm going to add a new changelog entry, but which changelog am I adding? Do I need I need a this product changelog and a that product changelog? No, I actually don't. I just need a changelog concept, and then I can assign a changelog entry to a product because they have a natural relationship this way. Let me go to ACF taxonomies, and I'm gonna go show you how this is set up. So there is a products taxonomy, right? Now remember, no CPT. And then you essentially right here are determining what this taxonomy is naturally related to. It is naturally related to documentation. It is naturally related to changelog entries. It is naturally related to reviews. So if I go to reviews and I want to create a new review, here's my new review area. Look over here, products, it's just asking me, by the way, you're writing a review, which product does this belong to? And this is just one area of data to manage. I don't have another CPT that has duplicate data in it. I just have that. But then you have the question, obviously, of where do you go to create the product pages? Because you need pages for the products, right? And then you need an archive for the thing. Well, guess what? A taxonomy has an archive page. So you can use templates, bricks, templates assigned to that archive page. You can create a products page out of an archive template. And then you can create each actual category in the taxonomy is an archive in itself. You can use templates to create pages for each product using archive templates, okay? So this is, let's say, Mark says, got to turn on that hierarchical toggle. Yes, I know. That's another fucking WordPress from 2005, okay? Why isn't that fixed yet? I don't know. But yeah, if you don't make it hierarchical, you can't get nice little checkboxes in your thing. But now, when I'm doing loops, think about this when I'm doing loops. I want to loop my reviews. I only want to loop reviews from a specific product. So if I'm on the Frames for Figma sales page, I only want to see reviews for Frames for Figma. Well, guess what? My products and my reviews have automatic natural relationships. I don't need any relationship fields. I can literally just add that as a stipulation in the loop that we're only pulling from that category, Frames for Figma. That's the only category we're pulling from for this loop. And guess what? It's more performant because it's not a meta query. And two is I get all the controls of my loop. So I get to maintain control over how many items are we looping, what order are we looping them in, yada, 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 yada. The whole list, everything is still available to me. This is a way to manage content where content has natural relationships to the core aspect of the site that you're building, whether that's products or whether that's services. Now, I don't think that this would apply to a WooCommerce situation, but if you're just managing like I am, I'm not doing WooCommerce, but these are products, okay? So if it's a situation like this, or services is a clear cut, seems to be, think about service area networks. You would automatically have relationships between areas and the services. Automatically have relationships between the services and the team members that provide them, or the locations where those services are provided, or yada, yada, yada. It is a way to have naturally occurring relationship functionality that's more performant to query and that retains all of the controls with your loops. It just takes a little shift in how you think about managing a website. Okay. Please set the taxonomy to hierarchical. I hate that WP doesn't set them to checkboxes. I know. This is hard for people to understand. Nice explanation. This is how we should be thinking for solutions architecture. Yes, I believe so. There's a feature request in Bricks to enhance the relationship controls. We should all hit it up. Yes, there is, but you don't even need it anymore. If you use this architecture, you actually don't need it anymore. Okay. All right. Good. I'm just going through the chat real quick. Ruben, I do appreciate the trolling. Okay, good. Architecture, good. All right, we're good to go. All right, so that's the architecture side of things. So let's hop into some dev work. So let's edit this homepage with Bricks. Let's talk about just some of the unique features. We're not going to cover okay, that's run of the mill. That's pretty standard, pretty typical. These floating little elements back here, which also have a vignette. I believe this is all self-contained. So if I delete that little container, we obviously lose our accent pieces and we lose the vignette. They're all tied together, which actually creates like a reusable kind of situation where I can apply this almost to any hero section or really any section that I want. So we can take a look at how I did this. I called it accents group. And if we go to layout, we can see that it's positioned absolute. It has an inset of all zeros, which essentially makes it the same size as whatever container it's already in this case, the section, right? It has a z-index of -1 to put it on the bottom. And then inside of it, I have a bunch of SVGs, which With attributes, we're telling screen readers to ignore all of these things. They're just visual accents. And then in the CSS, I've put an outline on each individual thing, and I've just absolutely positioned them wherever they needed to be. I had to use some formulas, a little, min functions here and there to control their size as they scale, because I didn't want to change all this stuff constantly at all these different breakpoints. You can see I'm using a bunch of calcs in the positioning in some cases, just to help this be, look how they kind of start to shrink and they change their position a little bit, and then they just go away on the very small breakpoints. So it becomes very easy to manage from a responsiveness standpoint, where those absolutely positioned elements can often be a pain in the ass. And then there's a little overlay element that's sitting in here, and we can just look at what that is. It's another absolutely positioned element, but it's a radial gradient with a circle. And then we're using transparent. That's the center of the circle is transparent. And then the outside of the circle, look at that, is BG ultra dark. Don't even care what color it is. It's just, there you go again with another contextual abstraction. I just want that dark color that I've been using for my backgrounds. And so again, if the color ever changes, it's naturally going to work with whatever we're doing. So it's really, really, really convenient, less decision making. Okay. This is absolutely positioned. This is fairly standard stuff. If you don't have to do this, go ahead and practice your absolute positioning. It's really all that's going on here. But it is a self-contained thing called an arrow message. And if you delete it, it'll all go away. And I can bring it back, and I can use it anywhere else that I need an arrow message. So it's nice and scalable, maintainable. There is some math involved here. Let's go maybe somewhere in here we can see with our positioning. This one was done, let's see. 18 characters, absolute. Okay. It's done with some custom properties that I can override on a per instance basis. But I remember putting in just some because again, this has to scale down, right? If we look at it as it goes down, it needs to kind of change its position a little bit. And it's still not perfect. That's pretty workable on mobile. I have to look at it on an actual device. I haven't gone that far yet. But notice it got a lot smaller. Things got a lot smaller. This thing had to move away from the edge. And that's all done with mostly math. It's not like breakpoint, 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 change. It's just kind of done with math. So it fluidly happens. Okay, let's go down. What is this? This is we look at testimonial grid, okay, style. All right. I think I popped in a recipe for CSS columns here. And so this is just using our CSS columns recipe. I put some cards, one review card in here, looped through the reviews, good to go. Notice it fades out down here, okay? And notice it has this read more link. So I actually put the link in the overlay. The overlay is once again, absolutely positioned empty container that covers the entire thing. And then it has a gradient on the bottom. Transparent, again, transparent is so you can see all this stuff up here. And then down here, and it's using a calc formula to essentially say, okay, we're gonna go 100% the height of this container, but then we're gonna back off 70 pixels, okay? And once again, BG ultra dark. I'm just throwing in that thing just keeps showing up all over the place because it naturally blends the dark into the dark. I don't care what the colors are, just blend the dark into the dark. That's it. And so then I put the read more link, just slapped it right on top of it inside of that overlay box, because if you look at the layouts, it's absolutely positioned. It's an inset is 0, so it's just a giant box. And then you can use just flex controls. Right? So I can say align end, align center, drop a link in there, and my link appears like it's just floating inside this overlay somewhere, which it kind of is, but it's just a giant box with stuff aligned to the bottom of the box, including the gradient. Okay, let's keep going down. This is the exact same columns thing. This is very interesting. I was faced with the job of putting in, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 16 images, image, pop, go to the media library, get that one, and 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 then do the alt text and the alt text, oh my God. Manual labor, Manual labor? No. We don't do manual labor in 2024. We don't do manual labor here. We have dynamic websites. We don't do manual labor. So there's just one image, and then I just looped through it. Well, what did I loop through? Because there's no custom post type for this or anything like this, right? So what did I loop through? Well, let's take a trip back here to the admin. So we're gonna go to media, and we're gonna see, just organize everything. I think I had it called like, here they are, mock layouts. So I have a folder of these mock layouts that I just brought in from Figma exports, right? And then I just looped through the folder. That's all I did. I just looped through the folder. And you're like, Kevin, how do you loop through a folder? Well, you can loop through, you should be able to loop through a folder in like any good content management system. Any content management system worth its weight in, salt, you should be able to do it. You can't do it in WordPress, can you? No. So, but we have this plugin called Happy Files, and it makes your media life very happy. And with Happy Files, you can in fact loop through media folders. And so if we go back to the builder and we go to our loop, we can see that I'm looping through post type of media. And then I come down here and I just select the fucking folder. Look, all the folders. Which folder would you like to loop through? Well, I would like to loop through the mock layouts folder. Thank you. And then they just all appear. And that's fantastic. Okay. I created this inline buttons thing, okay, with a little auto fit grid. So it kind of manages my double wide, we'll call it double wide buttons. From the South, double wides. Okay, what happens to these double wides? They stack, right? When there's no more room for them, I didn't choose a breakpoint. I just said when there's no more room for the width I want them to be, let's make them stack, but let's also make them 100% wide when that happens too. So that kind of all happens automatically. Bento grids. How are we doing these bento grids? Selling points grid. It's a 3-column grid, okay? And what else? Did we do anything fancy here? Yeah. So at 767 and up, we're gonna take the second child and we're gonna span it 2, and we're gonna take the third child and we will span it 2 as well. Oh, that's in the third grid, second grid, something like that. So we're just using, bento is literally just more columns than you need and then spanning things, different columns. That's, if you're confused to like, how do you bento? That's all you have to do to bento. Make more columns than you need and then span the items however you want them spanned within that grid. That's essentially what we're doing there. Ooh, very interesting though. If you know anything about web design, you'll look at some of these things and be like, wait, what, hey, whoa, hold on, what? So for example, this, right? Can you get a border that gradients itself away, but also doesn't appear on the bottom? Like, can you get a border that just does this side of the box, but also fades itself out? Yes, you can. It's not the easiest. It's not the easiest to do. I did it on this box right here. I'm probably gonna extend it to most of the boxes on the website, but I needed to get it done on this box first. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna use, first of all, the box itself has a linear gradient on it. A lot of gradients being used here, okay? So we got gradients on the box itself. Then we're using a linear gradient as a mask, and we're kind of manufacturing a pseudo border type of thing with this technique. Probably something that's gonna require its own video, but I did in fact achieve a border that gradients itself into nothingness, which is great. Okay, I think that's all you guys need to know about that section. This section's very simple. Let's look at our little pricing table situation here. Okay, so with this one, obviously we want a featured part of the pricing table. Now, DOM-wise, the lifetime option is last, right? It needs to come last in the DOM because it makes sense to go, small to large, freelancer, then agency, and then lifetime. But visually, we need lifetime to be in the middle, and visually, we need lifetime to be, bigger and things like this. So we can take a look at how now. Oh, notice this. I don't think you guys can see that because of my big head. Let's collapse this, and then let's go into this section right here. And you'll see that this is actually a template. It's a template part, we might call it, right? Because this pricing table also happens to exist on the pricing page. So if I go to the pricing page, oh, you see it right there. Come on, just talk the way you talk. That's decent copy, I think. Just talk the way you talk, right? If you're watching this and you're not using frames, I would just say, manual labor is for chumps, right? It is time to put frames in your stack. Okay, look, there's the table again. How many versions of this table do I want to manage? Well, the answer is 1, because we don't like doing manual labor, right? So that's a template part 2. So you just plop it in wherever it's needed and you're good to go. Okay, let's go manage the template. So if you click on template, you should get this little edit template link, and it's gonna take you into the template to edit it, and here it is. Okay, let's take a little look-see. So we're calling it pricing grid. This was a frame. Guys, this entire website was built with frames. I know you can't tell by looking at it, but the entire thing was built with frames. It's how you customize them. It's what you do to them to embellish them once you put them on the page. But this pricing table is good to go. Let's look at how it behaves. So pricing grid, 3-column grid, that should be obvious to anybody. You come down here and we're selecting the second element, right? And we're setting it to be in the end. And then we're taking the third element, which is the featured one, and we're moving it to order 1, which happens to put it in the middle. And then in pricing card here, we're doing some other things, like the third child. Oops, don't want to do that. The third child, we're giving it a linear gradient background. Well, remember, third child is lifetime, okay? Because you got to think in DOM. You're not thinking visual. You're thinking in DOM order. DOM order lifetime is the third thing. That's the featured thing. And so we're taking that third child and we're giving it a linear gradient background. We're giving the heading. And this is, look at where BIM is coming in to help me, right? Where I'm just able to use dynamic root variables and then just put in the extension for the element. Oh, I want to do my heading, my header icon. Okay. So I'm changing the size of the icon. I'm giving the heading larger text, all with variables. It's all tokens. There's very little decision making. You're just token, 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 token. Oh, look what I'm doing. I'm taking the button, any button that exists in that featured box, and we're just adding a box shadow to it. What box shadow were we adding? Well, I mean, of course, we would add just the one from Automatic CSS, just box shadow XL. Just, it's there. It's a token. Token, everything is a token. Token, token, token. Very little thing. I don't like to do manual labor, and I don't like to do a lot of thinking about values. For what should the value be? Should 32 pixels, 48 pixel, what should it be? And then those values have no relation to anything else on the website. And why do we don't want to live that life. Everything is a token in 2025 and beyond. Okay. You can do math with tokens, and tokens actually come in super handy when you need to do math because you're just mathing relationships. You're not mathing actual values. You're just mathing relationships to things. Okay, yeah, there's a bunch of math in there. Great, fantastic. So, yeah, pricing table is done. All right, let's go into some other parts of the website. We will stop and do some questions here in just a second. Let's go to the layouts tab. Let's take a look at this. Remember what I said? Oh, look, there's that overlay thing again. It's being used again, but just in a different way. These floating things with the vignette, that's the same shit from the hero section. I just brought it into here. It's actually a layout that I saved that I can just bring in to any section. You can just plop it in and it automatically makes the gradient. It automatically makes the opacity. And then I just determine where the things in it should live within that little box. It's really great. So then I come down. Interestingly enough, one of the things I also wanted to experiment with this build is is it plausible to get rid of WP Grid Builder facets? Can I go native bricks facets? So these are native bricks facets that you see right here. They are sticky when you come down because who wants to leave their sorting opportunity up there at the top where you can't use it anymore? Nobody wants to do it. You want your sorting opportunity to come with you as you browse the gallery, I would think. So we made that sticky. Here are the cards right here. This is just a loop. Now we are in the process because here's a big challenge. Big challenge. We're still figuring it out. We're still working on it. These layouts don't exist in this website. They exist in a source website called bricks.getframes.io, right? It's a subdomain. And we want them to stay there. Don't come here. Don't clog up this website with all that stuff because there's like I mean, think about all the BIM classes for every frame in existence. I mean, it's a little heavy site over there, right? We don't want to bring that junk into here. We just want to grab some things. Like I would like to grab the titles of those things. I would like to grab the featured images. I would like to grab the permalink. I don't want the data. I don't want the data of the layout, but I want some things. I want the taxonomies that are linked to it. And I want to automatically pipe those in. And anytime a new frame is added to that source website, I want it to show up here in this grid. And not only that, but when people click on it, like let's say CTA section Sierra, look what we get now. And this WP app is, I'm logged in on the source website, so you're gonna see the admin bar. Most people won't see the admin bar unless they happen to be logged in. And if that's the case, we have a security problem on our hands. But yes, that's why you're seeing the admin bar right here. But check this out. We have this is a live preview now. Remember I said with the old Frames website, big problem with no live previews. Now you get live previews, and I built this with my newfound JavaScript skills. If you haven't been following the Learn JavaScript with Kevin series in the Inner Circle, coming in very handy. This Learn JavaScript thing continues to come in insanely handy. So I built this little thing, which is actually quite easy. If you've done any of the tutorials that I've done so far in the Inner Circle, you could probably do this yourself. It looks more, than it is. It's behind the scenes, it's not super impressive, but it gets the job done, right? I think it's pretty slick. And then I don't think we need all the other document. I mean, it slows us down from putting more things in the library. We can move faster if we have less data to worry about. So this is an iframe, and I just pull the link into the iframe, and then it's sitting in a container that I get to control the width of, and that's that. So, but imagine that all this is able to be piped in from an external website. Wouldn't that be fantastic? I think that would be, so we're still working that out. We're still in the brainstorming processes of that. But check this out. I mean, I am able to sort these. This is native Bricks facets, which are fantastic. Show me my CTAs. There's my CTAs. Show me newest, show me oldest. It sorts those. Look, I can click on button delta. I can actually use the button. I can actually use inside the iframe. I mean, this is great. This is gonna show people much more of an experience of the frames than just screenshots, right? Okay, let's see. Setting, okay, those are questions. I'll get to the questions for sure. All right. A lot of questions. Okay. Kevin is part designer too, which helps his sites look good too. It's not just CSS. Well, yeah, I mean, the overall design is, Tommy did the design in Figma. I showed you guys the Figma file, right? But there is a concept, like, I believe you do have to have some design instinct to bring that over properly, right? Especially the more intricate it gets. If somebody can't see design, some people can't see design, right? They can't see balance and spacing. They can't see balance and typography. Like, their brain doesn't really compute these things. And so the designer will have a lot of details, and then the developer will put none of them in because the developer can't see them. They're like, sorry, I missed that. Like border effect, like that faded border kind of thing. And some things are very important to the overall aesthetic. And if those things aren't brought in, then yeah. And then some things I've made decisions on myself, like I go rogue. I'm known to go rogue from time to time. And I'll bev some shit up. I'll just do it. I'll just do it based on what I think it should be done, right? Sometimes that works out well. Sometimes it works out mediocre, but it's okay. I own it. It's good to go. Oh, this little divider thing. Let's take a look at that. And the glow. Ooh, I like the glow and the little divider. And the glow and the divider are linked. They are linked. Let's go ahead and let's get rid of these header templates. Okay, yeah, we don't want to save. I don't know what I did in there. We don't want to save. Let's go to edit with bricks. I'll show you an example of the border thing that I was talking about earlier too. Let's go down to those cards right here. As an example, review card style. Am I doing it on this one? I might not be doing it on this one. Probably not doing it on this one. Testimonial grid overlay. Yeah, one that I grab, I wouldn't be doing it on. I thought I did it somewhere though. Let's go CSS border. Okay. You can't. The problem is you can't do it in the border section of bricks. We already looked at that one. Maybe on our, oh, that's a template, so I can't. I gotta go to the magic area to look at that one, right? God, I wish we could just get rid of magic areas completely, not have to deal with those. Okay, let's look at the glow. That's what we came for. So I did decide probably best to go with a utility class approach to this glow situation. So I created a BG _glow, and I just put a overlay gradient on it. So what is our gradient? It is primary dark trans 60, and it is transparent. You see this a lot in, if you don't use transparent as a value, you need to get on it. Like, you should be probably using transparent as a value in colors and gradients more than you do. If you don't use it at all, something might be wrong. But it's another circular gradient, but this time I said top center. So that's why it glows in the top center. Doesn't matter how big the section is, it's stuck to the top center, okay? And then if we go down to CSS, look what we've got going on down here. So a border top, 1 pixel solid red. I'm sorry, let me go block start. I'm just got a little OCD about that these days. Border image, linear gradient to left. Look at this, border image. Border image is how you create some gradient borders, okay? If you don't need crazy masking and all that stuff, if you need just a gradient border image is your friend. And we go linear gradient to left. Look at this, what did I say? If you're not using transparent in your gradients, you probably need to start doing that sometimes. Transparent to primary trans 30 to transparent. And it gets me this, you gotta get out of the builder to see it. It gets me this thin little nice bright primary colored divider that also fades into nothingness on the edges. And that is paired with the glow. So when I go BG glow, I get the divider and the glow all at the same time. Why are those paired together? Because the glow looks awful if there's no visual division before the glow starts, okay? So those two things naturally, I made the decision that they should live together in that one single class. And so I should probably show you, so if we pop that off, no glow, no border. If we pop it on, we get the glow, we get the border instantly. Wherever I want that to show up, it's just a utility class away, okay? All right, let's go look at, we did layouts, components is not ready yet. Let's go look at the docs. We did this section. We did a single frame, okay? Components is not ready yet. Resources, let's take a look at docs. Okay, learn how to use the frame suite of web design tools. We got a little, this is just an archive template. Let's go ahead and click on this. And these are frames. All these cards are frames that I'm using everywhere. As you can see, there's some test dummy data in here, but we're able to, by the way, you can't do this in most page builders. You can't, let me open it. I'll show you. This frustrates the hell out of me in other page builders. Can't do it. You just can't do it. I'm querying the terms of the docs. So custom taxonomy, and I'm not querying posts. I'm querying terms. You can't do this in Gutenberg. You can't do this in, as far as I know, most page builders, the last time I checked, most of them can't do this. But I'm just querying the actual categories. I've shown this before multiple times in bricks, but I like to point it out every time because it's, it's a good thing about bricks. And then here, I'm actually querying the posts on this archive page. And then if I click on the posts, we're gonna get this. We have a table of contents that's sticky. And obviously this is just a kind of dummy data for right now, but that'll be fully built out when we have a fully built out document. And then let's look at just quickly what's happening over here, okay? Now both of these are open because this doc lives in both of these categories, but this is yet another thing I would not be able to do in most page builders. Let's go to edit this template. So let's go to bricks templates. This is gonna be a doc single, is probably what it's called. Doc single, somewhere in here. Let's edit with bricks. Let's check this out. And this is actually a frames component, okay? This is the frames accordion that is being used as like a accordion navigation, okay? Which is another interesting approach. So the first item in the frames accordion, I'm looping. And what am I looping here? I'm looping the categories, okay? So I'm saying I want all the sections of our documentation. That's what I'm looping first. So all of the actual top level part of the accordion, that is going to be the accordion functionality. And then when you open an accordion, we have a body in here, and then there's another loop. This is a nested loop, and this nested loop is querying the actual docs, the posts that are inside of that category, okay? How does it know it's that category? Because you could do a taxonomy query, and you could say, get the term ID of the parent loop and use that for this loop, okay? That's essentially what's happening right here. And so this will query the actual articles that are in that category. And when all is said and done, you get this. You get a little accordion navigation sitting over here, and it'll just build itself. So as we add more categories and we add more posts, it will manage, it's fully self-managed. I don't have to worry about it ever again. So that's another kind of, again, dynamic aspect of the website. I think that's it. Let's go to questions. I just kind of did a speed run through that. Let's go down and check on chat, and let's get into questions here. I just have to plan that on Tuesdays from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., I'm not going to get much done. That is a good thing to plan, the boulder. If you don't have this on your calendar, my friends, I mean, what are you doing with it? I mean, most people would say this is the most relevant way to spend a Tuesday afternoon in this industry, okay? I mean, you see the numbers on the live streams. We're not even close to where we're eventually going to be. We're still very niched out right now. That's about to change very soon. We're gonna be very expansive. The entire WordPress ecosystem will be paying attention and taking note. We are, the fundamental mission of Digital Gravy, if you didn't know, we gotta get you up to speed on it, is to change the landscape of front-end development, like fundamentally change the landscape of front-end development, not just with techniques, but with tools, with education, with all this stuff. And we're doing that, and we've made good progress on it, but I'm still in my warm-up suit. I haven't even taken off the warm-up suit yet. And when it comes off, things are gonna get, there's something underneath, don't worry, okay. But things are gonna get much more exciting, all right? Okay. I like the fire. Let's go to questions. And I think today I can actually kind of monitor the chat while I get into the questions. When is CPT3 due? Delighted with 1 and 2. CPT3. What is this? Was this fucking Star Wars? CPT3PO? What is? I don't know what CPT3 is. Why am I missing this reference? What is? Clarify, David Charles. Clarify, what is CPT3? Are you doing anything to track events in terms of funnels, journeys, and tracking conversions? I thought I put that on the screen. Ask Rob Cooper. We will, well, on the old website we are, but on the new website we are as well. What I should probably do is, we're using User Maven. So that can probably be my run through of User Maven, is how some of the tracking is set up. Okay, is Etch a page builder? We're not answering any questions about what Etch is or is not. You will find out very soon. The launch, I have official dates, by the way. I'm gonna email them out. If you're not on the waiting list is about to get the official dates. But there's gonna be a series of 3 live events, and they are at the beginning of September, and they have dates and they have times, okay? Now, to get this information, right now, digitalgravy.co, click on Etch, put your email address in there. You won't miss anything, okay? But I'm about to send out dates and times for the first 3 live events. So get ready for that. If you import the same frames without classes already named after doing auto BIM, I tried with frames and bricks and it didn't work, came in with my BIMmed ones. Okay, so if it comes in with the BIMmed ones, you go to automatic CSS, frames, and is it in here? Additional options, bricks template, gallery enhancement. It might be in options by itself. So maybe that's in bricks, yes. Yeah, because that is part of bricks more than it is part of frames. It's right here. Import original classes for templates. You need to have that on. So if you have that on, it'll import the original frame. If you have that off, it'll import your customized version of the frame. And so you decide how you want that behavior to be. Okay. All right, what are the plans for the future of the Inner Circle? Will we still see some agency content now that you are a software company? Yes, you will still see agency content, but my plan for it is we are going to branch out much more into sales always, and sales applies to anything, whether you're doing agency sales or product sales or just sales and sales. Marketing in general stuff, okay? A lot of people have asked me, I've gotten a lot of insider stuff about like just various, copywriting, marketing in general, how you use social media, more behind the curtains of general, like how do I get my name out there, personal branding, how do I get my company out there, how do I get all this stuff out there. There's gonna be a lot of content related to that. There's still gonna be a lot related to things like pricing, stuff that's, cross-industry or cross-discipline. SEO could still be a big thing. Digital advertising can still be a big aspect of the content and education there. All of this stuff, because what I'm doing to promote frames and build frames and automatic CSS and etch and Inner Circle and on and on and on can be taken, it's all the same fundamentals. And you could take that and apply it to any of your clients, right? In the services that you provide them. I think that one of the big things people have to grapple with is this idea that in 2024, you can't just be a web designer. You can't just be a web developer. You can't just be a page builder, assembler. Like, oh, I assemble page. I can't even design. I assemble pages in a page. Like, you're gonna get left behind, forgotten, AI'd out of the picture to death, okay? You have got to get, and I've talked about this ad nauseum, okay? You have to put yourself in that consultant role. You have to understand how online marketing works. You have to understand how these pieces of online marketing and advertising work to actually get businesses results. Yes, you have to know how to build the site. Yes, you have to have design eye, but you also have to have all of this other discipline, okay? You don't have to be an expert at copywriting. You don't have to be an expert at digital advertising. You don't have to be an expert in all these areas, but you have to understand them enough to consult with your clients on them and understand how these things all tie together. Email marketing and funnels and analytics, and we could just go on and on and on. And so all of this stuff and how it comes together is gonna be a big part of like, we've been teaching that stuff in the Inner Circle, and we're gonna continue teaching that stuff in the Inner Circle. I'm also still looking for a designer who is also good at creating content, like just legit UI design, right? To bring them into the Inner Circle to do an entire design series in the Inner Circle. For those of you who think you have an eye for design and you think you just need to build your skills more, or you need to learn how to use the design tools like Figma and auto layouts and components in Figma and all of this stuff, that's gonna be for you, right? So that's another area that we're looking into. JavaScript, we've already started. Learn JavaScript with Kevin. Everything is about taking your skills in these areas to the next level, the next level, the next level. And that's all gonna translate down to pricing, how much you're charging, how much you're making, how efficient you are, how scalable your projects are, on and on and on and on and on. So that's still another area that's literally just getting started. I think we're about to cross the 2,000 member mark. Like, when I think about Inner Circle, I think about 10,000 members, Like, I think about, it's like I said, the warm-up suit the track suit is still on. We've purposefully done what we've done within a relatively small niche. And we're trying to grow that niche. We want bricks to be big, right? We want these niches that we've done work in to be big. But branching out, the branching out is to come. The branching out is to come. So it's gonna get even more exciting. Etch is going to replace Google. Is that correct? No, Derek. No, Derek, you're 0 for 2, Derek. You're 0 for 2. All right, let's go down. Speaking of WordPress CMS drawbacks, do you use a bulk CPT create edit plugin like WP Sheet Editor? Something WP ACF should have natively. No, what I do is this though. So if we go into frames, layouts, I use, what is it? WP admin. What is it called? What is it called? Everything's got names. There's so many names to keep track of. Come on, plugins. Admin Columns Pro. So Admin Columns Pro does stuff like this, where I can even, remove a featured image, add a featured image. Let's see, where did that one go? Now I'm not gonna be able to find it because I deleted it. Okay, let's go to, why isn't it, no, I swear it was up here with those. But now it's gone. Oh no, that one was imported when we tried, of course that one was imported. When I tried to do the initial import to test and see if a manual import would work well, okay, I'll fix that in a minute. It's not a live site, that's the good news. But you can see I can inline edit these things. Did it save that? It probably saved it, yeah. Because even if I refresh, it won't come back. I can inline edit the categories. I can inline edit the types. So I don't have to go into every layout. Like, all right, go in, do the categories, come back out. Go into the next one, and come back out. And I don't have to use this mostly useless bulk edit feature right here. Inline editing is very, very, very nice. The only thing I wish it had, which maybe it does, and it skipped my brain, is like drag and drop ordering. And even if it does, I think maybe I've tried it before and couldn't get it to work. I don't know. But that's kind of the only thing that's missing from this right now. I would like to be able to just drag and drop their order. Okay. ACSS 3.07.1. Where did you see, what is that, a question? I don't know what the question is. If you're not up to speed, we do a release every single week. So there's a new ACSS update. Now, most of it is stabilization. It's like, how can we make it more stable? We prioritize fixing bugs. We prioritize optimization. We're not just littering it with, every week there's new features. It's mainly just focus. So don't be afraid when you see, another release. We're on a cadence of at least once a week. Sometimes you'll see 2 a week, right? They're now at this point, because everything is getting very, very stable, much more just like a couple bug fixes here, a couple improvements here. So don't be scared. Can you show us the best practices for using custom font that's not Bricks? I'm using Bricks font management system. So custom fonts, there's graphic right there. Here's Caveat, which I was using for, let's go back to the front end, this right here. That's Caveat. And so I'm just loading them in, and then automatic CSS is what puts them in the CSS by just calling them right here. So good to go. When will we see a final ACSS logo? I was browsing the site and saw the ACSS powered card and it got me wondering. That's still in limbo. It's still, I don't like the original one and I don't like this one. And I've been debating whether we even need one, whether it should just be the actual text, because it has like a badge, which is kind of like the icon logo. And what we've done when we just needed an icon is we've taken that little badge and then just made it say ACSS. I don't know. It's not as important as people think it is. It's just not. Okay. Question, setting colors is tougher than needed in 3.0 because there's no right-click ACSS access. Don't know what that means. Setting colors is tougher than needed in 3.0 because there's no right-click ACSS access. There is, though. I don't know. I'm not quite sure what you're referring to. Look at my pages area, guys. This is the automatic CSS site. Awful. I mean, awful. Let's go to look at the new frame site as a comparison. When we stick to the principle, now a lot of those were just, not even published pages. But let's go to the pages area here. Look at how tidy. Look at how tidy this is in the new frame site. I mean, we got home, blog. Why do we have? I didn't even want a blog page. I'm forced to have a blog page because the great CMS of WordPress doesn't have a blog archive page. Regular posts. There's no archive page for regular archive template ability for regular. You have to make a page for it, and this is verified by going to settings and reading. It asks you what the post pages. You have to make a page. This is why, you see why it's frustrating? They want to celebrate 20 years. This is 20 years, dog, my guy. This is 20 years right here. This is what we get after 20 years. I gotta make my products a taxonomy after 20 years to work around the idea of relating products to things. This is what we're celebrating 20 years in. Okay. I don't know why I get New York when I get critical. That's a dumb feature on this chair. Why does my armrest need to do that? Okay. Look how tidy that is. That's so doesn't it? How calming is this on you? When you have you ever opened like a client site? They're like, I don't know what happened in there. And then you open it, you're like, my word, everything's a page. There's 150 pages in here. Look at how tidy. Look at how tidy this is. I feel like, there's some level of psychopath in people who prefer everything. Like I've heard people like, I don't want to do the CPT thing. I just make everything a page. I love that approach. Like, whoa, okay, all right. That's a red flag, I would think. Look at how could you not like this? Prefer this? Look how tidy and organized this is. It should make you feel good. You should get the warm and fuzzies inside. Okay, we're still doing questions. I do have my chat down here. I can kind of peek in on the chat. Yeah, Steve Deacon says, hit that like button. Hit that like button. Okay. Is there any documentation on locally scoped variables? No, because the idea of a locally scoped variable, if you name them properly, so we have a principle of not abbreviating them. And when you don't abbreviate them, you can read their name and know exactly what they do, okay? Now, what I should probably ask, Alex put in a super chat, okay? Thank you, Alex, for the super chat. We'll get to that. So where were we? Locally scoped variables. If there's any in particular that you're confused about, let me know. We try to make them as obvious as possible. If they're not just super obvious, glaringly obvious, then maybe we need to improve something there. Or if you have specific ones about maybe inside of the framework, like with maybe button locally scoped variables, or if you just have another general question about locally scoped variables, how they work or whatever, I'll be happy to clarify. Just add to your question some context. Is there a list of available ACSS mix-ins? Good question. There is documentation on mix-ins, automaticCSS.com/doc/mix-ins. I'm just gonna guess. Okay, good guess. So yeah, like breakpoints and media queries, text and headings, padding and section padding, button mix-ins. I wouldn't call this complete though. It needs to be updated because more came with 3.0. And the reason more came with 3.0 is because, let me go here, because of this area. It used to be you could only use mix-ins if you had like WP Codebox and you used our import files and all of that. In Automatic CSS Global SaaS area, the mix-ins are they're just available. So you could just go straight away and use them, no setup required if you know a mix-in. So being that they're more prevalently usable now, we will make sure the documentation is up to date on them. Plus, cheat sheet, see how recipes are part of the cheat sheet? I'm gonna put a mix-ins area in here, and then the mix-ins, they'll be right there in the dashboard with you. Won't that be nice? They just live with you wherever you go. And you can just look them up, and yeah, that'll be the best scenario. So that's coming for sure in a future update. Do you plan to create your own nestable menu element? Sorry if that was already covered. It's on hold because we have this thing called Etch that's massive and it's great, it's fantastic, and we don't have time to mess around, dink around with menus right now. We have bigger fish to fry, so to speak. And so we got to fry that fish, and then maybe we will get around. Maybe you will see a menu. Because I will tell you, okay, as a product, like a product opportunity, there are no good menus in the WordPress ecosystem. They all suck. They all suck. Every single one I've tried sucks. All the ones in the build. Now, maybe you could say, well, that native one in Breakdance is pretty decent, okay? That doesn't do me any good. I don't use breakdance. That doesn't do me any good. Okay. The ones in WordPress that I could plug and play into any environment, those all suck. So it needs to be done. Like somebody needs to do it. And if you don't do it by the time I get to it, I will do it. But I'm just putting it out there. I mean, it is a good product opportunity if you can do it right. Okay, let's see. I haven't looked, but I've wondered, is there anywhere to find all the variables you use? Yeah, for sure. For sure. Go automatic CSS. See this cheat sheet right here? Variables. They're all right there. Literally every single one. You can search for them. It's all good. The cheat sheet's baked into the dashboard now, which is another, just great benefit of the whole dashboard situation. Okay, let's get to Alex's super chat. Initial thoughts on Build Darius. I answered this on the last live stream. They told me not to look at it until the new UI was available. Now the new UI is just now available. I'm a busy person, so I haven't dove in yet to look at it, so I really can't say anything about it. Best of luck to them. I know that, Build Darius has been around for a while. It's had trouble getting traction and momentum for various reasons. That's all I can say right now. Best of luck. I haven't looked at it specifically to be able to give any opinion other than that. Okay, when is ACSS 3.071 being released? Well, it'll actually be 3.08 and it'll be on Thursday at around 3 p.m. in the afternoon because that's the cycle that we're on. Okay, let's see. Is it possible to add breakpoint viewing like mobile preview and desktop preview while on the ACSS options panel in the front end so that we don't have to be inside bricks to do that? Oh, you mean like maybe here, maybe some controls. So essentially so that you don't have to do like this. I mean, this isn't all that difficult, like you just shift, what is it? Command, well, it's different in every browser, but in Arc, it's Command Option I, and then you could just do this, right? It's pretty nice. It's not a complete disaster when you bring it down. Okay. It's pretty nice. Looking pretty. I mean, for now, I really haven't even looked at. I'm seeing this for the first time almost. No, I haven't really done all that much. A lot of it because it's built with frames. I mean, they're made to be responsive, right? So it's like I'm just now looking at a lot of this for the first time. I've seen the this area needed to be done manually. The pricing grid needed to be done manually, but. I'm only 5-6 days into this thing. Like 5-6 days in, look at this. We've got all of this. We've got the layouts. We've got faceting. We've got to go. Well, I deleted that image. We've got this whole situation going on. We've got our docs system all set up and going. We've got single docs, and we got our products. We got products. We got these pages I still got to do. I think we even have a blog. Oh, you need to see the change log too. We didn't even see the change log. I don't even know if I did the change log. Let's go to change log. Oh, look at that. What we've been up to. Look at this. Oh, so nice. This is driven by a CPT too, which has relationships to the product. So each product can have its own change log naturally because of the architecture. So got a change log in there. Every change log can have its own page now. Look at this. It's fantastic. Which that doesn't even exist on the current site right now, which means we could link to a specific changelog entry. Look at the URL structure. Very clean changelog, new frames layouts. I can put the name of the product in the URL with this architecture. Haven't verified that, but I think conceptually, I can. What else? Oh, did we do anything with the blog yet? I did have a blog page in there, I saw. Okay, it's coming along. It's almost there. They don't have featured images. This girl is meaningless to our product, but it's a good placeholder. That was just a frames blog post. I just slapped that in there, and it's just kind of done. I mean, to be 5-6 days into a project like this with this level of detail involved in the design too, I'm feeling pretty good about it. I'm hopeful that maybe another week goes by and we're ready to rock and roll. Okay. I don't know about the mobile viewing question. I think Command just keyboard shortcut and do this, right? You can even put in things up here. You can even choose devices up here. Yeah, we'll let people vote on it. If people think that's a good idea, go post that in the community. And if everybody's like, no, Kevin, you're missing it. You're missing it. We got to have it. Okay, then we will definitely consider it. Okay. Erling says part 3 of CPT's templates, loops, and logic. Yes, that is coming for sure. And it might be a little painful to keep going on that series now that I've verified that this architecture could be a pretty badass architecture. I got to finish this project out, make sure there's no deal breakers, okay? But that series might have a little twist to it. Okay. Can you show where to put the script for custom image sizes in the IC without WP code box? I tried, just put in the custom theme code, but the new image sizes just don't show up for me. It should work in Brix's little area. You're saying you did this and it doesn't work? Custom code down here? No, because it needs to be in, I believe that's a functions.php script. So that would be theme file editor, theme functions. Probably try right there. Back up your site before you touch that area. You could white screen yourself if you're not careful. So just a little heads up. Okay. How did you implement the viewport preview iframe? Okay, we can take a look at that. No worries. Let's go to layouts. Let's go to feature card Dallas, and let's go to edit with bricks. Okay, so I created this thing called frame preview, and it's got breakpoint buttons that live up here, breakpoint buttons, and then a breakpoint buttons, breakpoint button. And then we have the button icon and we have the button label. Because this is, by the way, look, desktop preview. You see, you gotta cross your T's and dot your I's. You got a little accessibility in here because what you want, I actually haven't even tested this yet. Cover your ears.
Voiceover on our desktop preview button, tablet preview, phone preview, tablet preview, desktop preview, tablet preview, voiceover off.
You gotta cross your T's and dot your I's, my friend, right? I can keyboard navigate this. All right, let's get to a layout that actually we can look at. Let's go to feature section Dallas. Okay, so there's our little layout. Look at this, bang, bang. But look, I can keyboard nav. Look at that. Oh my gosh, look at this. Look at this, okay? And if I was on a full screen reader, it'd be announcing them. It's great, right? Okay, let's get back to how we did it. So I keep saying we, I don't know. I've done all the development on the site. I do say we, Tommy designed it. I just naturally say we. So breakpoint button, because I mentioned that only for the reason because there are anonymous trolls who like to come around going, Kevin doesn't even build anything. I mean, I could do like hours of live streams and build the ACSS website. I get, build this and Kevin doesn't even build anything. He just talks. This is all he does, talk. Okay, all right, okay. They're always anonymous, right? Fucking Katie 023334. Fuck you, Katie. Fuck you. Okay, all right, here we go. Breakpoint button. Make sure it's actually a button. You don't want this to be a link. We're not going anywhere, okay? You want this to be an actual button. Like I said, icon and text in here. How do you get the text to be hidden? Automatic CSS, you just throw a class on there called hidden accessible, and then it does what it needs to do. And it puts this little badge right here, this little A, in the builder only to let you know, hey, by the way, my guy, there's hidden text there that you should probably remember. Because otherwise, anybody that comes along to edit this, they don't know it's hidden. It's hidden, guys, right? But automatic CSS goes, well, people need to know in the builder that it's hidden, so we add this little badge. See, cross your T's, dot your I's. A lot of little details people don't understand. All right, JavaScript. So what we're doing, let's go back to the button. We see attributes. This is key. So there's an attribute called data breakpoint button, and it puts the value of the breakpoint like on the button, like attaches it to the button, okay, in this data attribute. So this one's 100%. And if I go to this breakpoint button, you'll see it's 768. And if I go to this breakpoint button, you'll see it's 480 pixels, okay? So if I need to add another breakpoint, I can just change their values right here in these data attributes. And then the JavaScript comes in, and essentially what we're doing is we're grabbing those buttons, okay? You gotta loop through them. And then we're adding an event listener for click. So we're waiting for a click on this. And then we're getting the data attribute, the value of the data attribute. And then we have a function called change breakpoint, which essentially just takes that value out of the data attribute and adds it to the width value of the container. We selected the container, so we have that. Function takes the value out of the button and puts it on the container, and voila. And then you use a little, I told you, it wasn't that, like, you know, behind the scenes, it's not that impressive. It's not that difficult. It's fairly basic JavaScript. And then I just transition the width, 0.3 seconds ease out, and then it goes, it just slides, right? It doesn't jump to the breakpoint, it just slides in between. Super easy to do with a width transition. And that's it. That was the end of the story. Okay, let's move on. I want to check chat too as well. Danielle says, this is Bricks, correct. I'm a noob subscriber to the channel. Well, welcome, Danielle. Good to have you. I love having new people on the channel. You are, in fact, correct. This is Bricks Builder. Yes. Okay. Be cool if you could drag from the sides of the inner frame and have it show pixel width as you drag. Sam, we got to start somewhere, Sam. Okay. Yeah, that would be fantastic. Okay. What I have to, so this is already a big improvement over what's currently there, right? So we start and go in increments, and when I have time and resources, I'm kind of busy, you know? I got a lot going on. So while handles and things would be nice, they are, to me, an embellishment, right? It's like, okay. Not to mention, you could just still Command-I the thing and probably do it. So yeah, maybe we'll do it. Maybe we'll do it. Maybe, you know, I like to do things when I get free time. I'm like, yeah, I want to try that JavaScript thing out. I want to figure that out. How can I put handles on it? How can I make it draggable? Yeah, that would be a good exercise. But right now I'm focused on getting this website out the door. And handles and badges with dynamically changing widths doesn't help get this thing out the door to the people, all right? I am a man of the people. I'm trying to get the thing to the people, okay? So I do love your idea, but we got to get on the same page. You know what I'm saying? Okay, is that SEO Press that I see? No, I don't think I've ever used SEO Press ever. I know, I hear good things. I hear good things, but I personally have not used it. All right, how are we doing on time too? We got 10 minutes. I'm trying to light speed through these questions. Why don't we set up a fun challenge where we recreate frames when it's done? Yeah, you could do that. Post an Inner Circle posted a plugin he built for mapping API data to CPTs. Maybe that can help somehow in the connecting the two sites. I will check it out. Thank you. How are you implementing huge icons into Bricks websites? With the icon element. That's it. I go to, here, I'll show you. It's super dumb. It's super, it's just not exciting in the slightest. So media, I have an icons folder, and there they all are. So the ones that I use, I export them from huge icons, I plop them in here, and then I use them as SVGs. Okay. How are sidebars put together? Sidebars. Maybe you're talking about the docs area. So, and maybe what else has a sidebar? Let's just do this. There's a sidebar right there. People think about sidebars in old school WordPress terms. I think they're like, oh, I got to hook into a thing called a sidebar. No. None of that. I don't use widgets. I don't use, no. We don't need 2005 WordPress to make a sidebar, okay? So let me go into the doc. We'll go into the template. That's a blank test. Let's go to this one. Okay, and let's edit with Bricks. So I showed here the accordion menu, table of contents over here, but let's look at the general structure. So we have a doc wrapper. That's the section. And then we have an inner, okay? And the inner is just a container. But if we look at doc inner, we can see that it's just a grid. And so this is interesting, right? 20 characters, like what's happening here? So essentially column 1 is 20 characters. The middle column is 1FR, but I use grid 1 because it has a min-max function inside of it. So it helps prevent any overflow scenarios. And then I have the other sidebar being 20 characters. And so it's just 20 characters, 1FR, 20 characters. And that's this little layout that we've got going on here. And then I just call it a sidebar. It's literally just a block called a sidebar. And then inside the sidebar, we have an accordion. And then inside this sidebar, we have a sidebar block. We have a sidebar block because you need to group your content in the sidebar, especially if you want one of those groups like this one to be sticky, okay? And then inside of that block, we just have a heading and a table of contents element. And I happen to just be using the native Bricks table of contents element for this. I'm telling it to look inside of the doc article right here for H2s. And that's what it's gonna put inside the table of contents. So fairly simple. It's just grid is your friend, okay? Grid does almost all things. And anything that you want done layout-wise, grid can probably do it. Oh, it needs to overlap. It needs to do, grid can do it. It needs things, grid can do it, okay? And in the small cases where grid can't do it, there are a couple things that grid can't do. I'll show you one of those right here. Grid cannot really do this, okay? And how do you tell? Anytime this happens, where content is covering a gap, probably not grid, probably not grid. This uses CSS columns to do this, which is it's not Flexbox, it's not grid. I know every page builder has a columns element because they like to confuse things. There's something called CSS columns. Okay, and that's what this is right here. I know it's confusing. I wish people didn't hijack terms that are already being used for other real important things and try to use them for their own things because that just adds to the confusion. It just makes it harder for beginners. We don't want to make it harder for beginners. We want to make it easier for beginners. Okay. What do you think of SQL being a database system? Okay. I'm not a database guy. Don't ask me database questions. I'm not a database guy. Are you using a plugin for the docs TOC? Good. We just answered that question. Fantastic. It is the native TOC element in Bricks. What would be the look of a good CMS in WordPress? Man, I'd have to write an entire article on that. It's more than a suggestion than a question. Add icons to your CPT visually. It helps. I know. I do that at the end. I'm very much a just go like big things, big thing. And then I come back and I'm like medium-sized things. And then I come back and I'm like small details. It's typically how I work. I don't know. To my brain, it helps me feel like I'm making more progress faster. I get more areas of the site done, and then I come back in and I do the medium things. I come back in, I do the small things, and I get to see things over and over and over again, which helps me verify that they were done, good the first time. I don't know. It's just my process. That's how I approach typically. The idea of perfecting everything on like one page before I can move on to other areas of the site, I will jump off a bridge. Okay. Oh, D123 says, no right click in the ACSS panel, backgrounds and text area. You're forced to go away from that area. Right click reference here is needed. Not really. I've heard this argument before. So let's take a look at one thing. So let's go to backgrounds and text, primary trans 10. See this? I can actually arrow key. We need to get it with transparencies. I get it. But I don't need to know the names of all of the variables because I can cycle through them, right? I don't need to right click them. I could just cycle through. Look how I could just determine, how do I, just play with it, right? I get right click would be great here. One thing you have to understand is the context menus is a separate application, okay? So we have to integrate two applications together. The context menus are actually being completely rebuilt in Svelte. This dashboard is built in Svelte. We're rebuilding the context menus in Svelte. Once the context menus are rebuilt in Svelte, we can much easier integrate them with this dashboard. So it's just a process. It's not, could we hack it together right now? Probably. Do we want to hack it? No. We want to make it seamless. So it's just part of the natural progression. It's not like, I feel like people keep saying this as like I'm some dark overlord that was like, they will not have context menus over my dead body in this dashboard. Like that's not what's happening. It's a technical thing and it's a progression thing. We've got to progress our way to that point. If we can get it in there and it works good and looks good, I'm not opposed to it. But Keep in mind, there are some other things that we put in, like arrow cycling, okay? It doesn't work on transparencies right now, but it works on the main colors. So that right there eliminates the need to even know the names of the shades. Now, the other thing you have to remember is it does help. Like, I would encourage people to not rely completely on context menus and cheat codes. There's a set number of colors. They all have the same names. There's a set number of shades. They all have the same names. The syntaxes are the same across every part of the framework. And so if I know primary trans 10, guess what? I already know secondary trans 10, tertiary trans 10, accent trans 10, base trans 10. These aren't like secret codes. They're not abbreviated, so you don't have to, they're the literal names of the things. So it should, a couple projects in, you should start to know them by name, right? There's not that many of them. So I know to a beginner that doesn't help at all. That doesn't help, right? And anything we can do to make a beginner's life easier, we should do. But it's also not, we don't have a magic wand, right? It's a lot of work to do a lot of these things. So we have to progress our way there. And so what I'm saying is, in the meantime, like, don't say, I'm never gonna learn the names of the things. Like, kind of make an effort to like, oh, okay, secondary trans 10, tertiary trans 10. Okay, I understand the syntax, right? Because it'll empower you more. When you're writing custom CSS, another area where you're not gonna wanna have to reference all the time. It's helpful if your brain just knows the thing and the name of it. And that way you can just write your custom CSS and you don't have to keep stopping to reference things. And people will say, well, Kevin, it's easy for you. You built the framework. But I built the framework, but you have to understand that the framework is built on loops. The only thing I know is the syntax for the names. Everything is looped in the framework. So I didn't sit there and hand write every class and every utility and every variable, and that's how I studied it. I just know the syntax for things because I set up the syntax and then I let loops do all the work of generating the classes and the variables and all that stuff. So I didn't create them all individually. I just know the syntax. Once you learn the syntax, you will also know all of them automatically. It's a syntax-based framework. Like, it's that way for a reason, because memorizing all this stuff would be impossible. When you know the names of the limited number of things, like primary, secondary, tertiary, accent, base, neutral, and then you know the syntax and the names of the shade, you know all the colors and all the transparency combinations right then and there. So I do encourage, it's worth learning. This is a tool that you're gonna be using for years to come. This is a tool that can make your workflow hyper efficient. And the more you just know it, the more efficient it'll be, even beyond what it does for you when you don't know it. So, okay. It's about all we can say with that. Okay, any date for frames for Figma update? How much is the gap of implementing frames and frames for Figma? Or is that in parallel? Your frames development is nonstop. So there's gonna be an update to current license holders. Tommy said within 2 weeks, and he said that a week ago, or half a week ago. My days all run together at this point. But that will just show up in your account and you'll get a notification. It will send out an email and all of that. Hey, if you bought frames for Figma, the new version is now available in your account. It will then be opened up for purchase again. I got to go back and review my notes with the discussion on Tommy. Either at that time or after the Etch launch. Can't remember which one we decided on. I'll go back and check notes on that. But at the latest, it'll be in September, right? I think it's set for September post-Etch. So yeah, but if you already own it, it's coming to you within like a week or so. Okay, what happens when you click on the video on the homepage? Does the overlay vanish? No, when you click on this button, it's not done yet, but there will be a modal that opens bigger than that, and you watch the video right there in a modal. That's the idea. So this will fire a modal that takes over that area of the page. Okay. All right, let me go back to chat. We're gonna close this up and start to get out of here today. Hey, 132 likes by my count on here, which is pretty decent, but if you have not liked the stream, go ahead and drop a like, I do this because people tell me that they find these like inside looks where we go inside a real website. We look at the architecture. We look at how things are set up on the back end. We look at the plugin stack. We then go into the builder. We look at how the pages are assembled. We look at the class strategy, the styling strategy for various details. They love to see this stuff. That's why I do it. So if you do continue to tell me that, if you ever get tired of it, let me know. We don't have to do this. We can do other things. We can spend our time doing many other things. So if you ever get tired of seeing the guts of these sites, or the design strategy and the build strategy, let me know. Let me know. We can switch gears. But for right now, all the feedback I get is yes, 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 yes. Do it more, 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 more. So we're gonna keep doing it every now and then based on that. I try my best with these live streams to tailor to what you guys are wanting and needing. And it trends, obviously, right? We went through a big trend of people wanted dissect other people's websites, like let's look at the copy, let's look at the design, let's look at the layout, let's look at the conversion strategy. We did heavy on that. And then people shifted more towards, we want to see your things, right? Show us your sites and how those things are put together. Show us some live stuff in terms of building, right? Like build some frames live. We want to see that. Okay, so we did some of that. It's up to you guys. You guys got to give the feedback, drop your comments, send your emails, and I tailor these streams to what I'm hearing on the streets. Okay, I got my ear to the streets. And that's what we do. All right, I got to get out. I'm like starving. I'm out of coffee. I need water, but I do love you guys. I do love you. Thank you for the support. I'll be back very soon. Peace.